Okay. Right, shall we crack on, Greg, whilst Brent's sorting out his...
let's get cracked on. So basically, guys, we're really, really happy to have Matt here with us. So Matt, he's going to be the one that will be handling all the extracts here in Thailand, you know. So we're really, really excited to have him with us. And Matt, really glad to have you here, mate. So why don't you quickly jump in there, Matt, and just introduce yourself, explain a bit who you are, you know, what your plans are for Thailand in the next couple of months, you know, and when you're kind of looking to get started.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. Greatly appreciated, everyone. And yes, I'm pretty excited about the opportunity as well. And you'll kind of see why here as I talk through this. So my background is scientific. So I guess some would consider me a subject matter expert in cannabinoids. I've spent the last about 7 or 8 years watching and participating in the cannabis space in Canada and the U.S. And I'm not sure how close everybody here has been following that, but you know, these markets have gone through almost a textbook evolution. You watch the pathway that Canada took and the pathway that the United States took and the pathway that some of the other European countries have taken. You know, these industries start off gangbusters. Right before everything becomes legal, people are scrambling everywhere to get in and prepare for what they know is coming. And then what most people are getting into or getting involved in is the farming of the crop. And then what happens is legalization takes place. You get an absolute logjam of farmers in the space, and you start watching that product, the cannabis or the hemp flower, if we're talking about CBD, you start seeing an absolute logjam of that material on the marketplace, and it starts to become like a commodity. And then the prices start dropping off precipitously through time, and it becomes evident to everybody, or at least it should by that point, that there's no money left in farming and there's high risk left in farming, and where you should be is somewhere else down the value chain. And we've also then seen, as these markets have matured, that, you know, there's people running dispensaries, which was a fantastic thing to be in the early days. But as you keep moving further down that timeline of, market evolution, the margins get thinner and thinner, regulations start to compound on them, and now they start turning into like a 7-Eleven, where it's kind of a volume business to make their money. And so watching these patterns evolve over all of these years, and, you know, seeing different products, and, you know, basically we've got as I'm sure many here do, have been watching these markets, we've all got a really good handle on, you know, what some of the products might be that are going to be winners, what some of the entry points into kind of this evolution that we're expecting in Thailand, you know, where's the right place for that? And so I think we've really got, the reason I'm excited about this is because I have absolutely no interest in participating in this market, which is my field, in North America, for example. It is, you know, people are fighting over table scraps right now. And so when I was, you know, approached with this opportunity, I jumped at it full force, because what this is a dream come true. It's the ability to have seen the roadmap take place over and over and over. And it's been so consistent that one has to assume that it's going to be similar in Thailand. But this opportunity is in an emerging market that's just about to open. It's already open now for CBD, which is another phenomenal element here. But it's just about to start taking off. And we can get in at the ground floor when all of the big money was made in these other industries, or in these other locations that I spoke of, and have the knowledge and the blueprint and the crystal ball of what was the right thing to do where and how to do it from these other case studies that we actually got dirt under the fingernails running these businesses and participating in these different verticals in this industry over and over again, it's kind of like a kid in a candy store opportunity where we've got a wide open, unfettered opportunity and we have the ability to kind of pick and choose who and what do we want to be in that industry. So that was a little long-winded, but it is extremely exciting to be at this place in time in this location.
Oh, that's awesome, Matt. So can you give us a bit of an idea? What are your plans moving forward? What are your roadmaps? Basically what's coming next for you?
For sure. Okay, so touching back on the story I just told, it has been proven over and over and over again that being a farmer is probably not where we want to be. The price starts to crater over time. There becomes too much product available. You're a farmer, so you're subject to, spider mite infestation, losing an entire crop, et cetera, et cetera. I've always been a big believer that there's going to be, eventually, right now it's not the case, but eventually there's going to be an absolute surplus of this product and the pricing is going to go down and down and down. So we don't want to be there. And at the far end of the extreme, we don't want to be the dispensary that turns into a 7-Eleven that is going to have to just move a ton of product at slim margins to kind of make that money. In the middle, there's a bunch of places that you could choose to be that I would consider where we want to be. And so what we've done is chosen what I think is the biggest opportunity, the broadest opportunity, the most flexible one. It gives us the most ability to adapt, et cetera, et cetera. So clearly that's the place we pick to enter, and that's extraction. So, in the beginning of these markets, and I don't want to bore everybody here, but everybody starts buying the flower and utilizing the flower. And eventually the demand starts to come into the market for extracts. And those extracts, whether you're extracting CBD from hemp, which can be used then as CBD oil in tinctures, it can be put into cosmetics, which would be something we would do right from the outset because, that is legit and ready to go right now in Thailand. So that'd be one of our entrances. CBD would be an entrance. Moving into CBD tinctures and gummies, that would be an entrance. And then obviously when THC comes along, we've already got those inroads, we've already got the extraction equipment, and we can just quickly add THC to what it is that we're already doing. And when you create the extraction, so I should back up and be a little more general. When you can create the extraction of, let's say, CBD or THC, that is the product that is most dense, most highly valuable eventually in these marketplaces because everything else is made from that. So Joe might be a gummy manufacturer, and we would likely do gummies ourselves. There's a bunch of different products that we'd likely add to our own repertoire, either brand them ourselves, depending on what the market tells us we can and should do there, or white label them for other people, manufacture for other people. But the point is no matter what product comes into this industry after the smokable flower, it's made with an extract. So again, I'm sorry I'm being repetitive, but that's all the CBD stuff like cosmetics, lotions, potions, topical pain relievers, gel caps, salves, so everything CBD basically. Nobody in the real world smokes flower for CBD. They all take it from an extract, no matter what form it takes. So being an extractor, we can now service that entire market. Any and everybody who's come in and invested their capital in, let's say, creating CBD tinctures or CBD gummies, we're the only place in Thailand that they can get that CBD extract from is us, because everyone else is just growing flower. Move on to the THC side, and it's the exact same thing. Past the smokable flower, everything is made with an extract of cannabis. So that's the THC tinctures and THC edibles, which is one of our largest markets by far over here. There's THC infused beverages. There's the whole concept, which will probably come a little later in time, of the really high concentrated THC oils that people will smoke or dab, things like shatter and rosin and crumble. All of those come from a THC extract. So you could choose to be the brand at the end of that value chain and have to advertise and market with millions of dollars, which everyone who built a successful brand over here, or in these, now what we'll call air quotes mature markets, the winners put a ridiculous amount of money into marketing and creating those brands. And again, I'm not saying that we won't look at the market and do something like that ourselves if it unfolds. But the reason I would position us where we are is because we have the most profitable and the easiest, most reliable, most predictable job in the entire value chain of this commodity. So that's why it's a really exciting place to be. This extraction equipment that we've... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. No, carry on.
So again, we can look around, and so let's talk extraction. So basically, if anyone doesn't know what that means, is you take the plant matter and you bust it up a little bit and you put it in a machine, and then some fluid, let's say, is going to be bathed over that plant matter, and it's going to dissolve the good stuff from it that we want and pull it into solution, leaving the plant matter behind. And then you move it into the next, kind of section of your extraction equipment, and then you separate it from whatever that fluid was, and you're left with pure concentrated extract from the plant, be it a CBD resin or a THC resin. Now, and then from there you can do anything you want with those things. So that's kind of how extraction works. And there's three main types of extraction that really had their day in the sun in our established marketplaces. That was ethanol extraction, hydrocarbon extraction, and supercritical CO2 extraction. And I won't get sciencey unless somebody really cares about that stuff. Let me know. But suffice to say that the methodology, or the system that we've chosen, is based upon watching for years the pros and the cons and participating with companies that were extracting with every different system available here in Canada and the United States, and picking the absolute best one for the fit and function of what we're trying to accomplish in Thailand. We're going with a hydrocarbon-based extraction. It is perfect for what Thailand is. And again, I won't bore you with the specs and the little nuances that matter, because there's a lot of detail as to why one system is better than another. But suffice to say that the extraction equipment and their team that we're partnering with and their system is extremely high quality. You can buy extraction equipment from, Alibaba in China if you want. But, we made a decision to not go cheap. If we're going to call ourselves an extraction company, and that is our core focus and driving principle, then saving 50 grand on a set of equipment, when the numbers here are so large, we want something that's handcrafted, can withstand 200 PSI yet only operates at 5, is guaranteed quality controlled, GMP manufacturing from locations that I've walked into their facility. You can't have your equipment go down. We really want it to be the best of the best. And then further to that, the other big thing about it is it's expandable. So, your base set of equipment is X, and it has the potential to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 reactors put on it. So, we buy this base set, we're actually targeting a 3-reactor system right out of the gates, but we need to expand. We just buy another reactor, pop it on, and we're ready to go. All the way up to 6. This might be getting too techier into the weeds, but each one of those reactors can take a different product. So I can have hemp in one of them to make us CBD. I can have cannabis flower in another one to make us THC. I can take once, the farming develops, you guys watch, you're going to have people like in Canada and North America that are focusing on specific fancy strains. So we could have, a Bubba Kush in one of these reactors, while at the same time there's a, lemon haze flower in another one. So it really gives us total expandability with unparalleled quality and reliability, and the ability to, on the fly, say, oops, we just got some product in from a new farmer. It's a new strain. Let's get it in its own reactor and start creating an extract of that lemon haze flower that we just got. So, that's a lot of word salad there, guys, but this is the right system in the right place at the right time that gives us the ability to be nimble and flexible. And at a moment's notice, we can expand, we can go down, we can address multiple products. So it just gives us that flexibility. And, I believe we know very clearly the way the market's going to evolve there. For example, when THC, we'll talk CBD separately, but, when THC, comes into legality, it's first going to be the flower and the farming and the creating of the biomass and the cannabis that people are going to smoke. And then very quickly, edibles will be next. I'm talking, THC gummies and then chocolates and so on and so forth. So this equipment can, very, very quickly give the starting materials to all of the entrants into that THC gummy space. And then once it changes into something else, we're still the guys that can adapt and be nimble. Anything that anybody wants for any finished product after flower, we're the guys. So we get there first. We get there with, an absolutely experienced team. We will take some growing into our own hands. I know I've been kind of dissing farming here, but at the outset, one of the minor challenges that we're going to have, or one of the things that we're, paying very close attention to at the beginning, is the availability of biomass. So at the very beginning of this cycle, like I said multiple times, eventually there's going to be too much product out there, too much weed floating around. But at the beginning, there's going to be a little bit of a limitation. So we're going to get into that ourselves to help ensure that we stay ahead of the curve and ahead of the competition at the beginning. So, there's a gentleman named Will who's an absolute master grower. I've seen what he's done. He's been doing it for a really, really long time here in North America. He's seen pretty much everything that can get thrown at it. He's an expert in genetics. He plays around in, heirloom species and seeds. This guy, I've seen a lot of growers, and this guy is just top shelf, absolutely top shelf. And I digress, but I understand that there may have been a kind of another farming operation that this group was involved with, and I'm not sure what happened there, but I know maybe some of the yields were down. So, Will is a guy who's going to be on the ground in Thailand. So if there's, anything we can do to help, I'm sure we'd be very, very happy to do that. But that's kind of a side point.
Yeah, cheers for that.
Yeah.
A quick question from the guy there. He was just asking, this might mean something to you, it doesn't mean much to me, to be honest, but why is the utilization rate only 4%?
Fantastic question. Because of the availability of biomass. Because we want to underpromise and overdeliver. The machine that we're buying has the capacity, it's a 3-reactor system that, but at a 3-reactor system where we're buying it right now, we're only going to put that thing at a 4% capacity. That is because of the availability of biomass. Now, we've got agreements with current farms. We're going to be growing our own right out of the gates. We know we can get that thing operating 4% of the time, no problem. It's an element of under-promising and over-delivering, right? I fully believe that within a very short amount of time, we're going to get that machine up to, 10% utilization, then 20, then 50. But the other thing that we saw in this market over here is that, at the very beginning, people were making really big money. And then every pitch for every company that was, springing off that later was using ridiculously large numbers to, entice people to participate. And so it gives me a bad taste in my mouth, saying that, well, you just put it that way. I'd rather underpromise and overdeliver as opposed to put these ridiculous numbers on this thing and then have a slight tidbit of disappointment. But the 4% is based upon, about 120 kilograms of biomass a month that will run. It's going to ensure that, we get into the marketplace, we establish our processes, our quality control. The machine is in tip-top running shape, like we're not maxing it out even remotely. And we have unlimited potential to expand. We can expand from 4% to 100% on our 3-reactor system, and when we get there, we can add a 5th reactor and a 6th reactor. So we've got a lot of room to grow. And eventually, I believe, based on how I see the biomass kind of evolving, we're going to need a 2nd machine. We're going to need a 3rd machine, hopefully within this first year, I would imagine. So it's just a low number based upon what we know absolutely we can get our hands on and secure and have secured today. But we're going to be on the ground securing more and more and more. And as I'd said, more and more and more farmers are going to be popping up. So long-winded. I hope I answered that properly.
Awesome. And then McFly also asked, what happens, because I think we're all aware in Thailand there's still a little bit of a complication here with the bill. So what he was asking was, what happens if the bill does not pass?
Okay. So great question. And CBD is the first answer. So, yes, cannabis and THC is a big business around the world, but, CBD is in the multiple billions right now globally. And it had, and I'm actually going to be quite honest, that is an area that I'm more familiar with than the THC recreational space. So if anybody here doesn't know, I'm not going to go off on a scientific rant about CBD, but, you don't take CBD recreationally, you take THC recreationally. Medically, I'd maybe prescribe THC for 5 things in the world. I'd prescribe CBD for 200. And that's why it's just gone absolutely bonkers everywhere. It's just so good for so many things. So right now, CBD gummies are legal. I'm pretty sure CBD tinctures are legal there. And, I've seen companies make unbelievable money. Like, I don't know if you've heard of, massive companies over here called Charlotte's Web. Those guys have made everything that they are off CBD alone. CBD cosmetics, topicals, pain creams, drink additives, gummies, tinctures. CBD is just a huge. If you told me that we had to go to Thailand today, knowing where CBD was in its legality and knowing what CBD is and how it's performed and will continue to perform globally, and you said all we could ever be was a CBD company, I'd say, okay, let's pack our bags and go. Like, it's huge. Now, beyond CBD, and we'll never need to go beyond that because it's just so big and such a voracious demand. Like, I'm telling you, in the demand, like what we watched here, is that when dispensaries first opened, it was novel and people would run in and they'd buy their THC gummies or their weed or their pre-rolled joints and all the rest of it. And 90% of the things that were selling out of a dispensary in North America was THC for recreational. And then, over the last 3 years or so, 4 years, reports from everywhere is that is shifting to 50-50 CBD to THC recreation. People coming in looking for CBD for their health or for their inflammation or for their arthritis or for this or because they heard grandma, say she saw an article on it on Dr. Oz or whatever. And that's a massive shift. And the projections are that that's going to continue, because let's face it, there are more human beings on this planet that want pain relief, inflammation relief, without having to take Advil all day long and destroy their guts and their kidneys. There's more old people with arthritis. There's more people who want the medicinal, non-psychoactive CBD than want to get high. It's just a fact on a global scale. So it will just keep growing and taking over the percentage of, how much of the world is looking for which cannabinoid. Eventually it's going to be CBD as the dominant one, not THC. There's just not as many people who want to get high as who want to get healthy. So it's a fantastic question that you asked. And I think I got a little excited there, but I hope I relayed accurately that the market for CBD alone is just more than we could ever possibly deal with in Thailand. Now, if you want more than that, okay, well, then we can start getting into using this extraction equipment for any other plants, right? We could pull essential oils out of, certain plant material. We could pull, certain other active ingredients out of other plants that, whatever might be big at the time or in desire or whatever. So you can use it for any biomass, but I don't see us ever going beyond just hemp for CBD if the THC thing doesn't happen.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Cheers then, Matt. I see there's quite a few people in the audience. Does anyone want to throw a question out to Matt there? Feel free, raise up your hands. Type it out in the chat box.
Well, for more questions to come in, there's a couple more things that I think is going to help differentiate it. So first and foremost, we know what we're doing. We've done it many times before, and we've watched dozens, if not 100 other companies go through these evolutions. We've picked the best and the brightest team, method, target, place in the marketplace, strategy, etc. So those are all really kind of winning criteria. Our team is fantastic and experienced, and I'd put them up against anybody, and I've seen a lot of teams out there from some of the biggest companies. As an aside, you'd be surprised. There's some really big players in our industry over here, and if you met the people running the show, you'd scratch your head. So when we can go into a new market with a really professional and experienced and incredibly capable team, I really like our chances. There's the beginning of these markets, it's like cowboys come out of the woodwork, and it's the Wild West everywhere, and people start throwing anything they can into some Bob Marley package, and there's two guys with dreadlocks selling it out of the back of a warehouse, and those guys make millions. So I've seen people that you wouldn't think would be that successful behind some of the biggest companies. So when we can go in with a top-notch first-class team, that's number one. The first-class equipment, number two. But there's a couple of things I haven't mentioned. We've got around about 1.5 million already buried into a couple of other things. And one of them is an app and one is technology. So let me back up for a second. Part of the growth strategy here is, I've talked to you about the front end. We get in there, we start doing this. The market moves to needing extractions. We start extracting like crazy and getting more extractors and, start serving this to everybody in the marketplace down there. Fantastic. That's phase one or phase 1 and 2. But what happens when other people start to come and start to get into the extraction space or start to, really crowd the market? We have to be able to differentiate. We have to stay and innovate and stay one step ahead. So, that phase 3 for us is going to be, instead of just extracting, cannabis oil, well, with this machine, we can go immediately to rosin or shatter, if anyone knows what those things are. But those are the next evolution of what people want on this market. And our machine is already equipped to address that need when it comes down the pipe, right? So it's first going to be flour, then it's going to be gummies, and then it's going to start being these other exotic, high concentrated THC things that our machine can already do. And almost every other machine in the world can't without a second bunch of machines or steps. So we're right there to address that. Then we want to stay ahead of innovators in that space. So that brings us back to this app and the tech. So my point of that illustration was we've got a plan of about 5 or 6 steps to always know what's come, or having seen what's come in the market, to stay relevant or ahead of every one of those steps, which is another massive reason why I see this being very, very successful. So, for example, technology. Here in North America, we went through what people call Cannabis 1.0, and then we went through Cannabis 2.0. And 1.0 was that steps like 1 through 3 that I explained. Everybody's growing, then everybody starts extracting, and everyone starts making gummies and so on and so forth. But everybody's products were the same, basically, right? It came down to marketing or price point. People would walk into a dispensary and they're buying their gummies going, how much THC is in this for how many dollars? Okay, well, I'll give it a try. It looks cheap. And maybe they'd only try another one if they didn't like the taste or something. So there's really no differentiator. So Cannabis 2.0 in this market meant investors, like our investors, right, like the real world investors into companies in the cannabis space, or hedge funds that were looking at buying these things up, and the public markets. All they cared about now was technology. Do you have something differentiated that makes you different from Ben and Jerry down the street making some CBD tincture or some THC gummy? So that's really my area of expertise. And what I saw is that our industry was very primitive and crude as it relates to bioavailability of these cannabinoids, efficacy, how effective they are on the human body. And I looked at and understood the pharmaceutical industry and the nutraceutical industry. And if you watched what they've done over the last 50 years, they've really gotten smart. They've gotten good. They've gotten into increasing the bioavailability of certain active ingredients. They've gotten into delivering those active ingredients in a better way to maximize the benefit or the experience for the human body. And so what we did is we identified about 3 kind of really applicable and game-changing technologies from the nutraceutical pharmaceutical space. We're talking patented, been used for 50 years, meaning I know that technology is legit, it's tried and true, it's on products on the shelves, it works. And as a scientist, I loved the way that it increased either the experience or the therapeutic benefit for the individual. So we took those technologies and we brought them into, science labs using their own inventing scientists, and we modified those technologies for cannabinoids, which means we now have the ability to bring on technologically advanced products, whether it's CBD or THC, when the time is right, and they're sitting in our arsenal right now. They're being used in products over here. I won't bore you, but I'll just give you one example. So we have one technology that can reduce the particle size of cannabinoids from 1,000 nanometers on average down to 1 nanometer. So 1/1000th of the size. And I won't bore everyone with the science here, and I'll resist the urge to get excited again. But the bottom line is bioavailability goes up as particle size goes down. As the smaller the particles of any active ingredient, the more bioavailable that ingredient is. So, there's people doing that over here with $1 million set of equipment, and we can do it with extremely elegant and cheap equipment that costs less than $5,000, and we can outperform and get a smaller particle size than any other competitor that I know of in the North American market today. And that's just waiting in our back pocket to take to Thailand. That's reducing the particle size, thus increasing the bioavailability of the CBD for all topicals, cosmetics, tinctures, gummies, lotions, capsules, etc. It's reducing the particle size of THC for any of those things as well. And if anybody's familiar with a THC experience here, if we treat THC with our particle size reduction technology, you need about 1/5 or 1/10 of the dose to get the same effect as if you just took the normal stuff. So it is a massive change. So anyways, we've got multiple technologies that we'll bring on board and can be applied to multiple products across, any of these products that I've talked about before. There's, dozens and dozens and dozens of applications that will allow us to bring these technologically advanced now phased, wave 2 products to the market. And then also we've got an app. And, this app is, it took a lot of money and time to develop it. It's ready to go on the shelf. It's been completed. And what this is it's like a virtual marketplace. It acts like a bud tender where people can go and get information, ask it questions, and it's loaded from data that we know from over here. So if a Thai grandmother wants to say, what's the best thing for arthritis, she can put in her conditions and so on and so forth, and it's going to show her the products that will load in from, the Thai market that meet her need. People can upload their kind of medical history or experience with different strains or different products, and we grow this community down there, and it becomes a massive resource, not only for, recreational recommendations, or somebody new to the Thai market wants to go get some recreational pot. He's like, I'm looking for something uplifting, and it doesn't make me want to sit on the couch and do nothing. And boom, he's going to get a suggestion with a whole bunch of people's comments on which one to go try, and even links on to where to go get it. Okay? And so there's an interesting tie-in piece, if you just caught what I just said, which is tell that person where to go get it. Okay? So then we obviously have the ability to make that our brand, should we so choose to do that. Okay? Or one of our strategic partners. So yeah. Bringing on that app, bringing on this technology, that keeps us going, for multiple years beyond just extraction here. So, again, I appreciate you giving me all that time to give you my word salad. That was a lot, everybody. But if anyone now has questions, I just want to share that last bit. If you've got questions, let me know. Fire away.
One of the questions there were you looking at expanding outside of Thailand as well afterwards, or just remaining in Thailand?
Well, so first of all, it's a fantastic question. We go back and forth on this all the time. The short answer is absolutely. Is it a rinse and repeat concept? Probably. But you have to watch the markets, right? So it's really going to be timing. We're never going to take, we've made a commitment to Thailand. And, what we saw over here, why many, many people failed, was their eyes got really big and they started to chase any shiny red ball. And they spread themselves thin and things collapsed behind them. We won't do that here. We are committed to doing what needs to be done here in Thailand with all hands on deck. And only if we've got extra resource or an opportunity comes, and, trust me, we're going to have every other country on our radar for the reason you just brought up, whoever asked that question. But we have no set plan, time, location yet. But trust me, when my excitement to move into an emerging market like this looks like this, 100% we're going to be looking for where is that next opportunity to execute, 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, I think what's really great there is what you've gone and said there. So even if because I know in Thailand at the moment the extracts aren't allowed to go past 0.2 THC, but I mean, you've just actually solved that problem by just saying that, you can always do that into CBD oils or do it into other plant materials.
Absolutely.
So I mean, basically you're not handicapped by just having to wait for a market to open up into high levels of THC for recreational. I mean, I think from what I've understood there is you've had a look at all the other aspects, and the THC market, from what I've understood, is actually a lot smaller than all the other avenues that you're exploring.
It's always the sexiest as soon as it becomes legal. There's always a huge boom in it, of course, and we're going to capitalize. But, I'm just going to repeat something that I said earlier. If you told me that we could go with this business model to Thailand and THC never would ever become legal, I'd still go for the CBD alone, and I'd probably forget some stuff because I was rushing to get there. Like, it's the CBD opportunity globally is so big that we could do this business model with CBD alone. No problem. So yes, 100%. That risk is mitigated.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have some questions here for Matt? I mean, already we appreciate you taking your time to chat with us, Matt. So guys, while we've got Matt here, take advantage, I don't know when we can get Matt back up here again. What's your profit margins? How much does it cost to produce 4%? And how much could you sell it for from Kashmonk? So let me repeat that one again. Sorry. What's your profit margins? How much does it cost to produce 4%? And how much could you sell it for?
Okay. So getting into those specifics, I'm going to have to either pull up some spreadsheets because I just don't remember every cell of every one of these spreadsheets. So profit margins, they're really high. The second part was what? How much does it cost to produce?
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to jump. I keep muting myself, yes, but sorry, I don't interrupt you. No, that's all right. That's all right. Let me get to that question for you. Give me a second, because I've got to keep muting myself. And so the second part of the question was, how much does it cost to produce 4%, and how much could you sell it for?
Okay, I'm trying to pull the metric off that in my mind and do the math for you from what is a cost to what could you receive for it. I think, well, I don't want to speak out of church, so I can go back, pull up those things, and I can get you guys numbers back. But, I think it's at least if you input X, you're going to get out way over 5X. I think that's a conservative kind of way of looking at it.
Okay, so about a 5X profit on the...
Yeah, and again, I don't want to... we look at these numbers very differently than that. I'm trying to do the math in my head to give you that metric. But it is 7 a.m. here, so I may have made a mistake there. I can always feed that information back. I've taken a note of what it is that you're asking, kind of input of X, what is output. And so I can get back to you guys on that. No problem.
Awesome. And then Green Lantern's asking, are there any U.S. opportunities?
Okay. Sure, there are, but they'd have to really be impressive or unique. And I'm not object to it. None of us are. But as I said before, there's a ton of competitors. There are, people are fighting over table scraps now there. Now there's always diamonds in the rough. There's always opportunities where you can piece X, Y, Z together and create some strategic partnerships and now create something. So we're open to that concept. But, compared with the tantalizing juiciness of an emerging market, it would be hard pressed to get me to want to pay too much attention to a U.S. opportunity. That's just a personal thing. I have nothing against the U.S. or a Canadian opportunity. I'm Canadian. I'm up here. I would still say the same thing.
Completely off topic. You've completely endeared yourself to me there because you say Z and not Z.
Exactly.
So I think I say well, right there. You've completely endeared yourself there, mate.
I'm in Kelowna, British Columbia. So I'm about a 4-hour drive east of Vancouver. I saw somebody chat where in Canada.
Yeah, that was McFly. BC Bud Guy. That's probably the inside.
They do make some pretty good stuff here. I will give them that. In fact, our extraction equipment, it's made in Victoria, like in Lower Mainland and in Victoria. It's all kind of a really, really, really developed market over here. And, I put my hands on this stuff. I know the people behind it. So it's why I really, really, really trust the equipment that we're proposing to use.
McFly, how would we look to market the NFT? We'll come back to you guys with a white paper and everything on it. So at the moment, we just want you guys to have a chat with Matt, get to know Matt, get to know what he's going to be doing. And then once the white paper and everything's out, then you guys can have a read through that, and that'll answer all of those questions.
Hiya, Matthew. It's Ben here. I've briefly spoken to you on WhatsApp. Pleasure to meet you.
I recall.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, great to hear from you.
Yeah, and you. Just to expand on the opportunity, because obviously we've got the community here with us now. So I'm just looking at these figures. And this is based on the low end. It's on page 10 from the paper in our Discord. So we've got 960,000 milligrams per run. So this would be the low end. How many kilos of cannabis is required to hit that number? What's the yield? How much do we need? It says extract produced per run would be 960,000 milligrams.
So again, I don't have the detailed spreadsheet that creates those numbers in front of my eyeballs, but I'm going to ballpark off memory. That's about 120 kilograms.
Okay. And it says operational runtime is 55 hours, which isn't a lot, to be honest. I mean...
Oh, no. We're barely using this machine at 4%. You're absolutely correct. This is totally under capacity.
Yeah. And we've got an average gross revenue. This is per run, I'm assuming, of roughly just over $60,000. So
that's per month, I think.
That's per month, is it? Okay. Yeah. And after the run of 55 hours, is there do you need downtime to let the machine cool down, or can you immediately start to run the next cycle?
So, great question. We have our machine. Yeah. We load one of the reactors with the biomass that we got that day. Call it 2 kilograms, right? The machine can run the 2 kilograms in an hour, in 2 hours. And then you're done for the day. So to putting it in perspective, that's 55 hours a month of running time plus clean out plus reload. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a tremendous amount of downtime, of extra hours of time to let machines cool. Now, the machines don't need to cool because they're running typically at minus 40 degrees Celsius. Okay. But I do understand what you mean. All equipment requires maintenance.
Yeah.
So this is running for a couple of hours out of a 8 to 12 hour day at 4%. Putting that in perspective.
Yeah, we'll try to get those numbers up, to keep Will busy. Working 2 hours a day.
Exactly. It's go get more biomass. It's going to be the name of the game there, and that's going to be very doable, no problem.
Uh-huh. And can you break down the logistics? So Will obviously is the master grower. So I saw somebody asked in the chat there, what is the operation? How is it going to work in Thailand? So Will is obviously going to come over on behalf of PureLeaf.
Yep. So he is an expert he's a master grower. Yep. He's an expert at running that equipment. So really we're going to have to start off with just a couple of employees. We don't need a lot to get started. And at that rate of, let's say, 2 to 4 kilograms a day, right? We do not need an army of people. So we're going to have our facility. Let's assume our facility is set up. Mm-hmm. We've got our facility. We receive our biomass from, farmer X. We bring it into the lab. We load, you can see those big columns there. If you guys are looking at that white paper, you can load the biomass into one of the columns and turn the machine on and watch. And then it runs in about 45 minutes. All of the butane, at least 95% of all the butane that's been used in that system is recaptured. It comes out the backside. We take a sample. We get it tested to ensure its quality and purity and all the rest of that stuff. And now we've got our extract ready to go, whether that's a CBD extract or a THC extract. And now, we can tidy up the machines, but that's about it. It's not complicated at this point in time. Now, when we scale up and we've got a lot of things going, and down the road when, let's say, we buy our own gummy making machine, now we've got another set of equipment in there where we take our extract over and, the things we'll buy are automated. There's just no point humans hand mixing this stuff. Not if we want to scale, which we do, right? We don't want to be a little mom and pop making this in our garage. So, we'll buy a gummy line where you literally pour the ingredients in a hopper in one end, add the cannabis oil in X amount. It does the measuring for you. It stirs it, it mixes it, pours it into molds, it dumps them out, it cures them, and literally drops them into packages if you need it to. So, logistically, we don't need a heck of a lot of manpower. But ultimately, the two main functions are going to be acquiring, receiving, and bringing biomass into the facility and working the equipment in the facility to make either just a straight extract or gummies or any other product. We could decide that we want to buy a tincture bottling line because CBD tinctures are taking off like crazy, and we know that sooner or later THC tinctures will come. Yeah. That kind of thing.
Okay, and let's just assume for now that they're not going to pass the bill in May. So we're just focusing on CBD. So I imagine the quality of the actual cannabis doesn't need to be top shelf.
No.
It would just be standard, what they grow outdoors. I mean, there's a lot of farmers right now with...
Yeah, our low models are based upon kind of those percentages.
Yeah.
Like high stick and ditchweed and so on and so forth. And it depends on their strains, right? It depends on what CBD content is in the strains. So, let's be clear. If you take a THC we'll talk THC because it's easier right now. If I take a THC flower, meaning the buds that are 27% THC and load that into that machine versus I take a Thai stick that's grown outdoors and it's 10% THC by weight of the bud and load that in the machine, we're going to get more pure THC out of the higher concentrated plant, obviously. So we just have to see where their strains are carrying the CBD percentage, and it's just a math game. But because we have so much capacity, we can afford to play that math game. And here's what I mean. If we had limited capacity and capacity for expansion or for processing biomass, which we clearly don't, we're operating at 4% in those models. If we didn't have capacity for that, we'd have to really go and buy the highest percent CBD biomass that we could find. And we'd probably pay a really big premium for it. But because we've got so much capacity, we can go get the readily abundant, lower percent THC, cheaper stuff, and just run the heck out of it and start accumulating stockpile of CBD that way with a very low cost of, biomass.
Yeah.
And it's just a math game, and it changes all the time, which is fine. We watch that, but there's a certain mathematical formula that says, if I buy this percent CBD biomass for this price, I can produce this many milligrams of CBD to use in products. Or if I buy this percent for this price, I get this many milligrams in products. What's the mathematical balance there? It might be better to buy the expensive stuff. It might be better to buy the cheaper stuff. And those things change and fluctuate all the time as strains improve and their CBD content goes up, or costs come down as the commodity becomes more readily available. So those are things that we watch. We watch the economics of what biomass makes the most sense for the bottom line.
Oh, thank you for answering that. Does anybody else have any other questions from the audience?
Matthew risk to get very excited here again. So I'm going to give you a question I know is going to excite you. Again from McFly there. Where do you see CBD in 10 years' time?
Oh boy. So I think CBD globally, like I haven't checked on this recently, but I think CBD globally now is around the $2.5-3 billion mark globally. In 10 years, that's going to be 10 billion guaranteed. And here's why. I'm telling you, I have a pretty robust background in, Western medicine and so on and so forth. And I've never seen a compound that can do as many things as CBD can in a positive way for the human body. Like, it's not even close. Most things in nutraceutical, well, almost everything in pharmaceutical does one thing well. Covers this symptom, alleviates that pain, blocks that neurotransmitter, whatever it is, one thing. Nutraceuticals start to get better at this because, let's say, certain things like curcumin, some superfood, well, it's good for inflammation and it's also good for, processing vitamin D at the synaptic level and blah, 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 blah. So nutraceuticals start doing more than one thing. But CBD does, like I said, you could literally prescribe it for 200 things. Like, everybody, if you want, go to Google and Google, is CBD good for, and put in anything. Multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, eczema, sleeplessness, anxiety, mood, depression, pain, inflammation, blah, blah. Like, it's really, really, really one of the most amazing compounds and plants I've ever seen. And what that means is that we can address so many different problems and concerns. So think of how big our market is now, the things that we can address with CBD. And then throw on another layer. I think before COVID, I bet you if you asked most people, and it might depend on your age and your background. So, I think, let me rephrase. I think a lot of people would say, I don't necessarily believe that big pharma is in it to make me healthy at my root. I think they might be in it for, maybe money motivates them a little, as much as helping people. Okay? I think many people would say that. I think after the COVID pandemic, I think more people would say that. And if you look at all of the trends in global markets, natural health is going up and through the roof. Natural doctors and how many clients these people are getting as opposed to your classic doctor is going up. Alternative medicines, alternative remedies, therapies, herbal therapeutics, preventative medicine. Let's get out there and exercise. Let's do this. Let's do that to not get to these points. Gut health. Well, that's managed by, diet, exercise, and so on and so forth. These are all, the world is changing. The world is changing. Like, let's just be honest. 40 years ago, if your doctor said, take this pill, you just took it. And today, it seems like every soccer mom is online figuring out what is the healthiest way to manage X in their family's home. So I think we can all see that trend is moving, where people are searching for alternatives to big pharma or alternatives to dogmatic allopathic medicine that you find, in Western medicine. So again, that market is going to grow. So the number of things we can address and the number of people looking to address them with different alternative plant-based, non-toxic, non-addictive methodologies, it just means this thing's going to explode. Like, I bet you 10 billion in 10 years is an underestimate.
Well, I've just quickly pulled up here, Market Research Future. They're predicting it will be 60 billion by 2030.
Oh, thank you. Great number.
60 billion.
I was on the serious low side. Yeah.
Yep. I don't know I've got a few figures from 2021. One says 15.6 billion. Another one says, where is it? 5.1 billion. So currently we're definitely in the billions. But they're expecting it to compound at a serious rate over the next decade. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those reasons. It's just more and more people are looking for it, and there's more and more people who want alternatives.
Yeah.
Here's a big one. Inflammation. Now, inflammation, and I'm not talking you sprain an ankle and your ankle swells up. I'm talking systemic inflammation in a biological sense. Almost all of us are systemically inflamed from the food we eat and the stuff we drink and all the processed this and that and so on and so forth. Our bodies are toxically inflamed. If you talk to almost any healthcare expert out there today, they'll say specifically us North Americans are just in an inflammation epidemic. Now, systemic inflammation left for too long unchecked will turn into some other disease. It is the root of every human ailment and disease. So dealing with systemic inflammation is likely or probably the most important thing we can do as humans. Maybe it's gut health is one or two. I'm off in the weeds, but those are just my philosophical opinions. But inflammation's right at the top because it's the left for too long. It's the root of every human disease. Now, go try to take ibuprofen or Advil chronically to deal with that. You'll blow your kidneys up, right? You can't. So that's why people are turning to CBD. And will continue to do so as more and more people figure that out and they look for an alternative method to reduce systemic inflammation. So just that one category alone is just excitingly off the charts. So again, with me getting all excited there again, that is why if you gave me the choice to go to Thailand for CBD alone, the door would be hitting me in the rump on the way to the airport, right?
Have you been to Thailand before, Matthew?
Never.
Never been?
Never.
Any plans to come out?
100%.
Anytime this year? Next year?
Oh, I would think soon, yeah.
Yeah.
I would think it's going to be somewhere kind of in this inaugural phase. So
awesome.
Looking forward to it very, very much.
Yeah.
Well, bring Carl with you. We've been asking Carl to come visit us here in Thailand for the past 8 months. And every time he says he's coming, but so is Christmas. And I think Christmas has already gone past. He was supposed to come last Christmas. He promised he was coming last Christmas and didn't show up. And so just drag him by the earlobes when you come.
Sounds good. Absolutely. Is he in this chat? Kyle, you hear that? Apparently you're going to Thailand.
Yeah, you'll probably be sending me a rude message in a couple of minutes. But yeah.
I've just got one more question, Matthew. Timeline. Obviously, we've got the bill. The election is on the 14th of May, I believe. So not far away. Regardless of if they vote to pass THC or not, we're still going to push ahead with CBD. So what sort of timeline are you looking at getting Will out here, getting the extraction machine out here, get everything up and running? What sort of timeline have you got in your mind?
I would say, ASAP. My desire is to get there immediately, obviously. But I'm the type of guy that, again, I don't like to overpromise and underdeliver. It's realistically going to take 1 to 2 months, even though I say ASAP. Yeah. And then if you want to be super safe, you say, X, Y, or Z might be happening till we're running our first run. So maybe 3 months max. But yeah, I want it to be 1 month, put it that way.
Awesome. I mean, we've kept you now for an hour. So guys, if you guys have got any other questions there for Matt, throw them out now. Otherwise we don't want to take up Matt's morning there.
Yeah, fire away. No problem, you guys.
I must say, we all love your passion. I've been reading the chat there, and everyone just says your passion's amazing.
Oh, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. Sometimes I get a little wordy, and sometimes I wear my emotions when I am passionate about things, but I also believe that's important, right? I'm not doing this because I believe it's a way to, make money and let's just capitalize on a business. I literally live, breathe, and have loved the cannabis industry. And I'll be very honest. I have no problem with recreational, but it's never been my prime focus or driver. I've always been on the therapeutic side. Like, this is a private community, right? So I can say anything I want. Cannabis oil cures cancer. I've done it with my own hands to people in my own life. Like the potential therapeutically from this plant. I'm not just talking THC gummies for fun or CBD lotions for some lady's skin. You know, there is just incredible healing that can be done in all sorts of ways with this stuff. So it's easy to get passionate about it, I guess, is why. So sometimes it shines through.
So Kyle says that he'll be dragging you along with him. But the thing is, I don't believe a word Kyle says, because like I said, we've been waiting for him for 8 months. So I think it's going to be the other way around. You'll be dragging him. McFly asked the last question there. Would they buy off other farmers if the supply ever gets disrupted? So would you guys be interested in buying off other farmers if the supply basically gets disrupted?
100%. And I apologize if I didn't make that clear when I was speaking there. 100%. So we're going to do our own, but our own is going to kind of fuel that 4%, right? We absolutely 100% want to take that capacity up from 4% to as close to 80 to 100 on that machine so that we can go get another machine. We must go and get from other farmers. And to do that, we'll be establishing relationships with them. There's a legal framework where, they're registered farmers and so on and so forth. But 100% it is our mission to go and acquire as much biomass as possible from outside. 100%.
Red, to answer you, there is a possibility that can happen. So yeah. Farms have oversupply. McFly says it's getting juicy. Okay, well done.
Our contracts right now, another advantage, right? I didn't get into the specifics of the minutiae of the numbers, but we're talking about biomass right now. So, right now we have a secured source that creates that 4% usage and those numbers. And it's about 60,000 Thai baht per kilogram, which is about 60 Thai baht per gram. So that is an exceptionally good price. Compared to what you just go, buy the flour for on the street there. So we've already secured exceptional pricing, and we'll continue in that same vein to look for. Remember before I spoke about, you don't really need to go and buy the best flour to put in this machine because you're usually going to pay a super premium for it. Maybe the economics are, maybe you don't buy the worst flour, but maybe there's a spot somewhere in the middle where when you run the math and see what you get out of the machine, it's much more cost effective to buy at this level, right? So that's an example of us doing that. We could have gone and bought the premium bud out there, but because it's so limited right now, everybody wants the premium bud. So why would we go after it when we can just, spend a little extra time to get the same number of milligrams out of inferior, we'll call it, biomass. So we've negotiated this great pricing, which is, well under kind of your average market pricing per gram out there. And we'll continue with those concepts constantly because one of the biggest names of the game, like I said earlier, there's two things here. One is going to get biomass and bringing it home. And the second is running that biomass. So yes, good question. Yes, we will be trying to acquire as much biomass as we possibly can from outside our own operation, 100%. And it's also another way to mitigate risk, right? Sometimes crop yields just aren't as good. Now, we won't have that problem with Wilk is the way that we're going to mitigate and control those environments and so on and so forth. But, you still have to prepare for every eventuality. And if you're receiving your biomass from 5, 10, 20 different sources, you can overcome any blip, right?
So that's smart.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, Greg.
So Matt, I know that Hannah's got a bit of a personal question that she wants to ask you. So I don't want to throw this out on an open mic, if you like. But is there a possibility that Ben can maybe open up a group DM with you and Hannah? Because I know Hannah will have some pertinent questions for the medical aspect that you were mentioning earlier. Again, I don't want to say too much on the open mic. I can DM it to you.
Yeah, no problem. Hannah, if you want to have a chat, that's totally fine.
Cheers, Matt. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you can just DM me directly, Hannah, if you'd like. That's fine.
Something I encourage you, Hannah, and everybody to do. So through our Twitter account, we've been posting a lot of the studies what Matthew has just touched on with cancer and everything else. A fantastic page that we follow called Carver Johns. I will type it now. Carver Johns. I highly recommend everybody